we have the pleasure of having Mr. Arnab Roy, who's VP Marketing Coca Cola India and Southwest Asia. Uh, it's a large brand. It's a venerable brand. The word venerable is used very loosely sometimes. The word iconic is used loosely. So Coca Cola is a venerable and iconic brand, and it's a very large business. And Mr. Arnab Roy has stayed with Coca Cola for the last 23 plus years. This is his first job out of the business school. He passed out of IIM Ahmedabad, and then he's been with Coca Cola. So please give Mr. Arnab Roy a big round of applause. It's a big business, big brand, and Mr. Roy is a senior leader.
Thank you for your very kind words. I think you're being extremely generous. Happy to help. And have a good conversation.
Thank you, Arnab. I mean it. I don't think I'm overstating the case. Today, when we started in the morning, we talked about the purpose of the brand. The theme of the CMO summit is about, purpose-based growth. What is the purpose of brand Coke as it exists?
So, I'll be honest with you. I'll give you my honest point of view. I think at an overall level, the purpose of any brand or any company, especially if it is a publicly listed company, is to ensure that we make money for our shareholders. At the end of the day, that's the most important one. I think as we are trying to build the brand, make it more relevant to the culture, I think it is important to understand what the overarching values are supposed to be. So if I take brand Coke around the world, essentially, it stands for 2 or 3, I would say, important values, which is what I think we have been tried to be consistent for the last 130 odd years plus right now. I think it's about ensuring that we are able to bring happiness to the world, bring refreshment to the world, and we also stand for a world that is inclusive. And being inclusive, I think, is one of the most important core values that we have tried to remain very consistent, I think, throughout the overall decades that we have been trying to communicate ourselves.
So Arnab, at the core of Coke's existence or any brand's existence is customer centricity.
Correct.
And it's looking at insights, data, and leveraging that to be able to enhance the purpose in business. Give us a sense of how, over the last few years, Coke has looked at data, insights, to be able to leverage the customer centricity.
Correct. So I'm going to speak on our overall company's approach. So for all the brands, it's not just Coke. I think I try to kind of remind everybody, because when we ask anybody, what do you think marketers do? Everybody gets excited. You must be making fancy campaigns and fancy ads. You must be meeting all the celebrities. Actually, that is one of the least important pieces of the job. I think where you started on getting into the data piece has been, I think, the fundamental kind of building block in everything that we do. So there are 3 pieces, I would say, is a job of any marketer. And I would urge all of you who are interested in marketing to not forget this. The first is either you are bringing in new consumers.
Growth. I keep saying a marketer is a growth leader.
Yeah. So end of the day, growth can happen by either bringing in new consumers to your brand franchise. And even for a brand like Coke, I think the opportunity for growth, not just in India, around the world, is phenomenal. And so everybody keeps saying that, okay, this is a saturated category, you just kind of have a look at the numbers. I think the opportunity to grow is, we can easily double our business again, right? By the end of this year, we'll probably, at a worldwide level, our brand, in terms of the retail value, because that's the best way to look at a brand, because we sell concentrate, that may not give a fair idea of how large your brand is, but we sell close to around $120 billion worth of Coca-Cola in the world, of brand Coca-Cola only. And if I do my math as to how many people are there around the world who says that I love Coca-Cola, and if kind of given a choice, Coca-Cola would be my first preference. But these consumers are not drinking Coca Cola in a very frequent way. There are more than 500 million people worldwide. We call them internally we call them intenders. So if you just do the math, if you are able to kind of slowly bring all these people into your business fold, you can have a very, very healthy growth over the next 40, 50 years. So just coming back, first step, how do you bring more consumers? And for that, obviously understanding who these people are. Where are they? Where are their motivations? What are the particular occasions? Then you can actually bring them in. So a lot kind of goes into understanding of that. The second task of marketeers could also be, okay, if you say that, okay, I can't grow the consumer base, your existing consumers, can you increase their frequency of consumption? Because that could be the other way of growth, correct? If you go to a market like Mexico, the per capita of brand Coca Cola per year, which is how many servings of Coca Cola an average Mexican is having per year, is close to 600. Which means on an average, every Mexican is having 2 Coca Colas a year, right? If you go to Brazil, that number is around 400. That number is low single digit in India. And so for everything that you hear that in India there's a lot of consumption, the percentage is still small. It's a big business overall, but the incidence number is still very small, and the depth of consumption is still very small. So the second growth lever is, how do you get your existing consumers to drink you more often? And kind of one of the pieces I give advice to all the young marketers who've come in, I think the way the category has been built in India for the last 25, 30 years, and it's got its reasons for that, was it is a special occasion. You drink it in birthdays or in parties. You see big celebrities. So it's not your everyday relevant occasion. So building occasions is fundamental. If you go to markets like Latin America, the only way that big number has happened because you built occasions, right? So that's point number 2. Or the third important piece of growth, because that's also growth, is you increase your profitability per transaction. So all the three, either you get new consumers, or you get more depth of consumption, or you improve profitability per transaction. If you're not ticking these 3 numbers, honestly, then you're not really having a marketing plan. Let's not call it a marketing plan. And so in Coke, most of the energy is going into, okay, what are the 1 or 2 of the kind of growth levers we want to grow in a particular brand or in a particular country, and everything is finally decided with deep understanding of the consumers or the occasions on that. So that's the way I would put it.
Now, you rightly said Coca-Cola is a very big driver in the business, but there are other brands which are very strong, and they have their fan following, so to say.
Yeah.
Very loyal consumers. Thumbs Up is one of them.
Yeah.
And then you have a portfolio, a very diverse portfolio of, if I may say, marquee brands.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that each of those brands gets the right attention and the right nurturing?
So the way we operate right now is that we have got 5 categories that we have, and that's the structure worldwide. So every category has got a P&L. So a brand like Thumbs Up is India's largest FMCG brand, by the way. It's not just the largest beverage brand. Today, as we stand, it is India's largest consumer brand. It is bigger than any brand, either in Unilever or in Procter or any other company. And obviously, it's a pretty big brand, so it's got a very big P&L. End of the day, you decide at the beginning of the year, what's the revenue target, what's the profit target. And again, based on which will finally add up to the overall number, every brand, I think, has got its own very strong marketing plan. So it's not that I can decide independently that, listen, I'm going to put all my money, because the world actually thinks for many years that as a company, we don't invest in Thumbs Up, we are putting all the money on Coke. Actually, it's completely opposite. Coke has got its P&L, it has to deliver its P&L. Thumbs Up, it's got its P&L, it has to deliver its P&L. We have a brand like Maaza, doing phenomenally well. Hopefully by next year it'll become a $1 billion brand. And it's an interesting brand because it's got challenges on things like commodity pricing. because the mango juice prices have been actually very variable. If you had a bad year on the mango crop, then the mango pulp price is goes up. We are the world's largest buyers of mango in the world as a company. So my Maza brand manager is the world's largest buyer of mango. So it's interesting as to all the other.
I should know him. I can take some more. Save money.
Yeah. So there are kind of multiple things on meeting the P&L, other external factors, but every brand is obviously, we ensure that we have a very sufficient amount of money, but it goes back. What do you want to invest should finally drive growth. If you have a plan which is not going to drive growth, then it's not going to get approved. As simple as that.
Arnab, thank you for saying that. And we are on 7th June. The summer has been around for at least 45 days. How's been the summer season for you as a company? And overall, how do you think the summer products have fared? I mean, yours is beverages, but there are air conditioners which have done well. The coolers, because it's been intense heat.
Yeah, I think we've had a good summer. The business has been very good. The business could have been far better. I think what has been happening, Doctor, is the last 3 years we've had a very good run, very strong. And as I was speaking to outside, this category has been the fastest growing FMCG category. Okay, so it's been very, very strong growth, primarily I would say driven that it's a highly underpenetrated category. And then on the external side, interestingly, the infrastructure in the rural parts of India has been a boon to our growth. Let's be honest. With higher electrification, we have been able to get more coolers out there. If you have a cold thumbs up or a cold Sprite, the probability of consumption is much higher. So there's been multiple factors which has been playing. I think the last 3 years, phenomenal growth. Again, this summer, phenomenal growth. We could have grown a lot more. And that was constrained with how much of supply and manufacturing capacities we have. I think one example as to why we couldn't still have a lot of our manufacturing plants in place is we had the crisis in the Red Sea. So a lot of the parts and the lines, they come from Europe, and they were all stuck on the way. So by the time the lines are going to come in, it's actually going to be June now. So the summer is gone. So while we have done well, I think the opportunity to grow was much more, is what I would say. And I'm assuming it's been the same for all the similar categories and our competitors as well.
You know, again, there's been chatter about that this category is degrowing, and you clear to me that it is not. On the contrary, the potential is huge, as you've talked about it. However, there is a movement from, sugar-based drinks, and you have a Coke Zero, you have a Diet Coke. So clearly you have those alternatives, but there is a movement towards non-sugary alternatives. The health drinks are growing. Water as a share of throat is growing. People have started to drink sparkling water in India.
Yeah.
So give us a sense of what's happening in the category.
Yeah.
Because you know numbers, you know data, you know it firsthand. Use this forum to be able to put out.
I think we are in a point of inflection for the beverage category to explode in India. Now, we all have to be careful on how we brand healthy products, because I think you would have seen, we don't claim ourselves as we are a healthy product. We are a product that you can enjoy. The problem is that there are a lot of products out there, beverages, outside beverages, who claim to be healthy. When you have a look at their ingredients, most of them actually have twice the amount of sugar than what a Coke or a Sprite would have had. But the perception is that this is healthy. And again, the human body is processing in the same way, whatever you have in terms of, so most people think apple juice is good. When I go on a flight, people order an apple juice. An apple juice gets absorbed by the human body much faster than anything you can have. It's basically pure sugar. Having a whole fruit is very good. And again, please don't get me wrong, we are the largest fruit juice player in India. So what you claim yourselves healthy and non-healthy, I think, as all consumers, all of us, including the government, I think we need to open our eyes, and it'll happen. eventually I think there is going to be an option for a lot of different kind of beverages. Is sparkling beverages going to go away regular? Absolutely not. As I said, that the opportunity to grow is massive. Because you don't want to have a Karela juice every day, all the time. There are moments in the day when you're having a biryani, you'll want to have a thumbs up. Let's be honest with it, right? And having kind of once in a while is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. If you look at the ingredients, and again, it's absolutely fine. There is no issue at all. People have been, as I said, otherwise the whole world would have, collapsed if you compare the consumption between India and other places. But I do believe there is going to be an explosion of functional beverages. The challenge has never been, there is a demand. The challenge is, can you get scale and can you make it profitable? And having a profitable business in this beverage space is not easy, because there is also a price point issue, which finally India is still a very important piece, and how much you can get scale in it. So that scale thing is very important. So right now, at the end of the day, if you kind of look into the startup activity, I don't want to name companies. There's a lot of new brands who again have claimed to be in the healthy space. If you look at the ingredients, it's the same, but they claim. But the fact is 90% of them are actually bleeding. They have an unsustainable business. And I was sharing with you that even at a global level, large companies have actually struggled in the healthy beverage space. But I am an optimist. I believe, and with all the kind of research that's happening within our company, I know that we are very close to having certain kind of beverages which we think are going to be healthy and also going to be, we can scale them up because we can hopefully have them at the right, I would say, price point.
Now, Arnab, clearly, as you said, a CMO is a growth leader.
Yeah.
Your job is to be able to create growth in the category, in numbers, in profitability, in business. Now, you've done many collaborations with your partners, with your agency partners. You've done a collaboration with WPP on OpenX and Studio X.
Yeah.
Give us a peep into that.
Yeah. So, this is a big change we are doing in terms of our marketing model. And basically 3 or 4 points, I think. The last 25, 30 years, actually, we are already late. Honestly, I feel most of our brands are already late by 5, 6 years. But if you look at the last 25 years, most FMCGs in India have had a very simple model. You create mass awareness by putting your TVC. There are 3 or 4 platforms. It used to be even lesser, then it started getting little more. But TVCs were still the biggest vehicle where you can educate and make consumers fall in love with your brand. Then you have got mass channels. India still remained a traditional trade market where spontaneous awareness was the game. And that's how the Unilevers of the world, Proctors of the world, Marico, Cadbury's, Coca Cola, that's how we build our business. There are 2 or 3 things which has happened, and it's happening at a very fast rate in the last few years. One is that we clearly see, if you take live sports out, the impact of TV is going down, it is falling dramatically fast. All of a sudden, when you make your media plans, when you start working on your reach frequency numbers, you scratch your head that with TV you cannot get that reach frequency target. So you have to take a step back. Then everybody started to say that, okay, I'll do digital. What did most companies do? They took that same TV ad, made a short edit of it and put it on YouTube, Facebook. And that's the kind of way the communication has been going. Okay, hum log ne digital kar liya. That's broadly, okay? And the point is, it's still the same problem. Point number 2, what is happening? As of last year, official number in India, which is the hub, global hub of content creation today. India is the global hub of content creation. 10 million pieces of exclusive content are being released every day in India. 10 million. Through your local social media channels, everybody. Everybody and his brother is making reels, putting some content out here. how the hell can we assume that your TVC is going to stand out in that clutter? So all of a sudden for marketeers to start thinking, we have to rethink the way we are making content. Therefore, the whole partnership with WPP and India is actually the pilot market for this, and we've done some very good examples, and they're scaling it up worldwide right now. We said that we'll probably go, and it's interesting because this was the model earlier, in some way or the other. But it's a group of people, 30, 40 people, who actually come from the media agency, the digital agency, the creative agency, and they're working hand in hand. And it's almost like an always-on content ecosystem. So it's not something you plan. There will be some TV. Let me be honest. There will still be some role of TV. But as you move into what we call content ecosystems, which need every day 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 pieces of content to be released, you cannot go by the earlier plan. So it's a very kind of different approach, which is agile, always on, which is kind of digital first, which is social at heart. And that's the concept of this OpenX, which is a virtual concept, but Studio X is a real world. If you go to the WPP office right now in Gurgaon, you can actually see Studio X right there, and we are opening smaller Studio X in other parts of the country, which is this group of people who are always at it in terms of kind of releasing content at a phenomenal level every day. So that's the future of content. The nucleus of that will be content ecosystems, whether Coke Studio, most people think it's just, okay, I'm releasing some songs. But Coke Studio has become a big content ecosystem for me. The highest amount of consumer engagement on brand Coca Cola is happening through the Coke Studio ecosystem today. And that's over the building the brand love, the local connect, the regional connect is all happening through that. Similar things we're doing on all the brands is building these content ecosystems. And that's, or IPs, what we call internally.
Thank you so much, Arnab. Music, sports, cricket, entertainment, for your portfolio brands have been big drivers of salience as well as showcasing, as well as consumption. Wherever you sponsor, the pouring rights are Coke, right, or associated brands. Give a sense of what is going to happen in this season. You know, I always say the season starts in July, August, September, October. Give a sense of what kind of new communication we'll see, what kind of new IPs we'll see, and how will you deepen your association with sports, music, and entertainment ecosystem?
Yeah. So we've taken a very clear-cut role on each brand playing a particular approach to a passion point. And you would have seen on Coke, we have kind of taken brand Coke has taken a little bit of backseat on cricket. Simple reason being, going back to the P&L, cricket is expensive in India. And if I have to, justify my ROI on cricket investments, it has to be done with Thumbs Up. And Thumbs Up historically has had a lot of history with the sport. And plus with the audience consumer, we said Thumbs Up is going to be focused on cricket, and that's what we've been doing for the last 3 years. Coke is going all out with music. We brought back Coke Studio, though in a very different avatar. It's a digital first approach. And I just continue to see the opportunity of making this IP far stronger. And the engagement, especially with the teens around the regional parts of India, has been fantastic. So music will continue to be a big part for Coke. That's not going to stop. We are sponsoring the on-ground ICC T20 right now. But because it's happening in the US, you'll see Coke there. But all our activation has been happening with Thumbs Up in India. On Sprite, we are trying to take a big bet on the comedy space. So those are the 3 passion points: music, sport, comedy. If you look at all the charts, and Sprite has got a history of being close to humor. If you look at the way the brand has been built, it's always had this nice link with humor. It's a light-hearted brand. And we saw a phenomenal opportunity to go and tap into the exploding space of comedy in India. And I think it's a massive, very fertile space. So we feel very excited. We've done now 2 seasons of what we call, it's an IP we're trying to build called Joke in a Bottle. In terms of transactions, getting first-party data, phenomenal results. But I hopefully have been able to, convince to get some more investment in that, and I'm excited to how we expand the comedy space next year. So that's the way we're going to be working on.
Now, you talked about 24/7 content ecosystem. You talked about 10 million pieces of content being created in a day out of India. Clearly, there are fears on deep fake and what may happen because of accidentally or intentionally to harm the brand. So how are you using technology to be able to, or AI, to be able to integrate that into your marketing on content touch points?
Yeah. I think AI is going to be the single biggest impact in marketing in the last, I would say, three, 4 decades. Okay? AI is here to stay. Everything that I have seen, not only in India, but abroad, and all the experiments we are seeing, all the people we are speaking to, AI is going to change marketing. 3 areas where AI is going to make a significant difference. First is on basically data mining and data analysis. And the kind of stuff that I got a chance to see when I was in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, I think was phenomenal. So the way a human being can, with the right tools, can leverage AI to arrive at insights at a phenomenal speed, I think is going to completely change the way we're playing the game. I would urge all of you to Google about, which I'm kind of learning every day, what we call synthetic consumers. And there are companies who are operating on the concept of synthetic consumers, and how you will start getting insights from proper synthetic consumers is phenomenal. So first, this whole insight space, I think AI is going to be much ahead of the game. So that's going to be commoditized completely. Point number 2 is, I think how production is going to change.
Creation of content.
Creation of content.
TVCs.
It's not just TVCs, yes.
Video content.
But video content, I think, is going to change completely. And we've already experimented that. And I'll give you a simple story. We ran a small digital platform called Fan Pulse in the last World Cup, where Harsha Bogle would come every day and give a quick summary of the match. Guess what? Harsha Bogle, we had him for 2 hours only. We had him for 2 hours, yet we had Harsha Bogle to come in, and you as a consumer could actually see his match summary, looking exactly like real life, that he's giving a fresh summary, completely done by AI. That's not in 5 years, it's already happened. So that's the second point where I think production is going to completely change everything. The third thing is, again, a little bit interesting, is a combination of what's going to happen on the ground, on products, innovation, as we are starting to think about it. I think, I'll give you a simple example. It took us 10 years to get to the right sweetener for Coke Zero. It will take you 10 minutes today to make a new iteration on that. With the power of AI, you can go and hack smell, taste, flavors, everything. So the speed at which you will see new products coming in is going to change completely. And that worries big companies like us, because we used to invest in R&D in a big way. So because I spoke about it, whether it's in kind of juices and all of that, flavor science was our domain with big labs. And that is completely going to be hacked right now, because if you are a startup, you can go and open up a new company. With the power of AI, you can actually develop phenomenal products. How that's going to impact, it's time to see. But I just want to give you a glimpse. It's not just communication. It's the side of product development. And a lot of stuff happening individually in the markets based on kind of local needs and tastes, how you can actually fine-tune. I think is also here as a big opportunity for AI to change.
Fantastic. Arnab, my last question to you.
Yeah.
Marketing is changing. Hence, the marketeers are also evolving.
Yeah.
And the role of a marketer is not just communication, it is understanding every driver of growth,
Absolutely.
whether it's supply chain side, whether it's distribution, and of course communication and consumer insights. As a professional, how do you keep yourself evolving apart of the fact that you went to Atlanta and saw what's happening in the Coca Cola headquarters in terms of innovation? How does a CMO, he or she, keep herself updated and relevant?
Yeah.
What should a CMO evolve into?
Yeah. So, as a principle, and leave whether it's a CMO or it's a marketeer, it's the same. I think the marketing books that we have had all these years, I think some principles will not change. So, as I go back, finally the 3 principles I spoke about, that role is not going to change. It's only the way you want to achieve those objectives. Because finally it's growth. So not to forget that the growth is the ultimate game, and then what's happening. But I think have a curious and open mind, because a lot of the communication principles is being completely torn apart. So we have to be very open-minded as to what we're learning. Secondly, I think digital is becoming like an Excel PowerPoint. Today, if you are not a digitally savvy marketeer, you're not a marketeer. Because the world has already become that. If you don't understand how the world is going to work in this new world, I think unfortunately you are not in the right job. And as I've said, maybe, and even in not, this has been the last generation of a analog marketing officer. The era is over for these people. If I don't evolve myself, even for me to grow within the company, I think understanding of how AI works, understanding of MarTech, for example, is becoming very important. We spoke a lot about it, first party data becoming critical. As we move into communication, into platforms, understanding the technology stacks that go and support it. If you don't understand that, you cannot have the communication. You don't know where the costs are going to come from, what is going to impact. And especially then with AI coming in, understanding of the technical side becomes important. So be open-minded, be curious, always, that's fundamental. Keep your strategy clean, that's always important. But then the digital and tech side is going to become the most important piece. So I would urge everybody out here that immerse yourself, and it is not rocket science, it's only inertia. It is not rocket science, it's about, that's why I tell my team, start understanding this, it's fine. What will happen? You'll fail in your first attempt to learn again, and experiment a lot, and that's the only way you will keep learning.
Thank you so much, Arnab. Please give Mr. Arnab Roy a big round of applause. Whenever I do a panel, I close it by recommending a book or a person to follow or a YouTube channel to watch. I used to do only a book 10 years back. So would you like to recommend any book or a person to follow or a YouTube channel to watch?
Yeah. Very good question. I follow Scott Galloway. Scott Galloway he's very pragmatic, and he's actually a marketing professor, but he's a very pragmatic marketing professor. I kind of love him. And I'm a big fan of...
Kangna Narnoth.
Pardon?
Kangna Narnoth?
No.
Sorry.
No.
I thought you said Kangna Narnoth.
No. I'm a big fan of Daniel Kahneman.
Of course.
Who
Think slow, think fast.
It's one of the best books that I would recommend every marketeer to just read. It's a heavy book. You have to read it twice, thrice, 4 times to really understand. But from understanding the basics of marketing, I think fundamentals of how human behavior is, I think that's a phenomenal book.
Thank you so much. And I would recommend a professor. He's a professor in Canada. His name is Saad Gad, and that's a real name. Saadgaad. And he has a contrarian thinking, and that's why I love. He challenges almost every notion that you think exists, and you know it. So, I mean, if it matters, Elon Musk also follows him, but I also follow him. So, that's for today. Please do go have a Coke today when you celebrate, or thumbs up. I'm sure it'll get you more energized. Please give Arnab again a big round of applause. Thank you.